Nancy, so you want him.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting for the council for the town of Petawawa to order for February 2nd, 2026. Welcome members of council, staff, and our guests in the studio audience. We'll begin this meeting this evening with the reading of the land acknowledgement, and this evening is Councillor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Petawawa Town Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the O'Mamnenwineni Algonquin people. We would like to thank the O'Mamnenwineni people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, and we wish to acknowledge our shared responsibilities in responding to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 94 calls to action. Calls to action number 84, we call upon the federal government to restore and increase funding to the CBC Radio Canada to enable Canada's national public broadcaster to support reconciliation and be properly reflective of the diverse cultures, languages, and perspectives of the Aboriginal peoples, including but not limited to: number 1, increasing Aboriginal programming, including Aboriginal language speakers. Number 2, increasing equitable access for Aboriginal peoples to jobs, leadership positions, and professional development opportunities within the organization. Number 3, continuing to provide dedicated news coverage and online public information resources on issues of concern to Aboriginal peoples and all Canadians, including the history and legacy of residential schools and the reconciliation process. Recent progress. In budget 2016, the Government of Canada invested $675 million in CBC Radio Canada over 5 years. This includes $75 million in new funds in 2016, as well as $150 million annually as a top-up on the total budget invested by the Government of Canada beginning in 2017. In its 2016-2017 annual report, CBC Radio Canada stated that the additional new funding from budget 2016 enabled to undertake key Indigenous initiatives, such as creating additional Indigenous content, as well as hiring local Indigenous staff in Yellowknife to digitize CBC's North Indigenous language collections, which spans over 6 decades. CBC's Indigenous Languages Archives projects represents over 75,000 of audio programming in 8 Indigenous languages. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roots. And now I'd ask all of those in attendance if you please stand for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you very much. I need a motion to approve the agenda for this evening. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Roots, that the agenda for the February 2nd, 2026 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on any of this evening's matters? See none. We have some minutes of the council meeting of January 19th, 2026. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sadler, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held January 19th, 2026 be approved as printed and circulated. Any comments, concerns about the minutes? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. We have no presentation, so we'll move right into the bylaws. First up, we have bylaw 1805/26, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 456/07 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended. I need a motion for first and second reading. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that bylaw 1805/26, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 456/07 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1805/26, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 456/07 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended, be read a first and second time the second day of February 2026.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1805/26. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that bylaw 1805/26 be read a third and final time and passed. And as you know, this is the amended version of the backyard chicken bylaw. Are there any questions or concerns with the bylaw? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1805/26, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 45607 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended, be read a third time and passed. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1805/26, the second day of February 2026.
Next, we have bylaw 1806/26, being a bylaw to regulate and license the keeping of backyard chickens within the Town of Petawawa. I need a motion for first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that bylaw 1806/26, being a bylaw to regulate and license the keeping of backyard chickens within the Town of Petawawa, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1806/26, being a bylaw to regulate and license the keeping of backyard chickens within the Town of Petawawa, be read a first and second time, the second day of February 2026.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1806/26. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that bylaw 1806/26 be read a third and final time and passed. Any questions or concerns on the bylaw? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1806/26, being a bylaw to regulate and license the keeping of backyard chickens within the Town of Petawawa, be read a third time and passed. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1806/26, the second day of February 2026.
Next, we have bylaw 1807/26, being a bylaw to set water and sewage service rates for the year 2026. I need a motion for the first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that bylaw 1807/26, being a bylaw to set water and sewage service rates for the year 2026, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1807/26, being a bylaw to set water and sewage service rates for the year 2026, be read a first and second time, the second day of February 2026.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1807/26. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Roots, that bylaw 1807/26 be read a third and final time and passed. Any questions or concerns on the bylaw? Deputy Mayor Sabrin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in regards to Garrison Petawawa and the Watson study that's undertaken, where are we at with that? And are these the rates that the Garrison will be paying for this year? Is that confirmable? Thank you.
I'll turn that question over to the CAO.
Yes, these are the rates that Garrison will be paying for this year. We are working with Watson's. The study is expected to come forward in the next month to 2 months. The reason for the delay was there was some financial information that we need to get, and we were down some people in that department. So we now have those people there, and we're getting them the current rates up to last year, which will reflect better on the study moving forward.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments on the bylaw? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1807/26, being a bylaw to set water and sewage service rates for the year 2026, be read a third time and passed. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1807/26, the second day of February 2026.
Next, we have bylaw 1808/26, being a bylaw to amend bylaws 971/15 and 1757/25, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a service contract with Miller Waste Systems Incorporated for the collection and transportation of garbage, recyclable material, source separated organics, and garbage waste. I need a motion for first and second reading. Moved by Councillor Roos, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that bylaw 1808/26, being a bylaw to amend bylaws 971/15 and 1757/25, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a service contract with Miller Waste Systems Incorporated for the collection and transportation of garbage, recyclable material, source-separated organics, and yard waste be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 180826, being a bylaw to amend bylaws 97115 and 175725, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a service contract with Miller Waste Systems Inc. for the collection and transportation of garbage, recycling material, source-separated organics, and yard waste be read a first and second time this second day of February 2026.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1808/26. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, second by Councilor Coutu, that bylaw 1808/26 be read a third and final time and passed. Any questions, comments on the bylaw? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 180826, being a bylaw to amend bylaws 97115 and 175725, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a service contract with Miller Waste Systems Inc. for the collection and transportation of garbage, recyclable material, source-separated organics, and yard waste be read a third time and passed. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 180826, the second day of February 2026.
And just for those watching at home and for the member of our audience, if you're wondering why we're not spending a lot of time on bylaws, they were presented and discussed and debated all at previous meetings. We're just passing them later. Next, we go to correspondence. First up, we have a OMERS governance change and Bill 68. This came from AMO, and they were talking about potential changes to the OMERS governance caused by Bill 68. So what they've asked us to do here in Petawawa is to come forward with a resolution in support of AMO and what they hope to see in terms of the OMERS governance structure. And I think I'll turn it over to the CAO. He's just got a little bit of background information to help us make that decision.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Yes, from what I understand from the correspondence that was in your package that we received from AMO, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, they're really seeking support from other municipalities to, I guess in a nutshell, say if the system currently, the governance structure of OMERS isn't broken, then why fix it, or why suggest we support a different governance structure. So right now, OMERS operates under a two-board system. And under the province's suggestion, they're looking to go to what they call sponsored council, which would have government be involved at the table. And AMO is just saying, we don't really need them there. It's not broken, so leave it where it's working. It wouldn't affect the pension itself, the way it's operating. It's just the governance of the back end of the operation of OMERS.
Okay, questions on the correspondence and the possible resolution? Deputy Mayor Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I definitely support the council resolution. Benefits programs attract staff and they keep staff and they help with the competition that is out there in terms of ensuring that you've got a work environment that people want to work in. And I think what struck me most out of all the correspondence that I read was where it said that Bill 68 means that municipalities will have less of a voice in the pension plan that we pay for. And we definitely want to have a voice when we're spending money, and so that's the biggest reason why I would support it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Are there questions or comments on the AMO correspondence? So I think the Deputy Mayor hit the nail on the head here. It's more about the government making a change that would give less of a voice to municipalities in terms of how they can direct and affect changes in terms of the owner's pension. And as the Deputy Mayor said, it is a very important part of us here in Petawawa attracting employees to our town and retaining them once they get here. So are there any other questions or comments? So you see the resolution in front of you. I'm not going to read it once and then read it again. But if there is support for this, I need a motion. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Carmody. Settle in, folks. The resolution is, whereas the Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement System, OMERS, pension fund serves over 1,000 employees and over 500,000 employees and retirees from diverse groups including municipal governments, school boards, libraries, police and fire departments, children's aid societies, and electricity distribution companies. And whereas the long-standing jointly sponsored governance model with 2 corporate boards has provided stability, accountability, and fairness for both plan members and employers for more than 2 decades. And whereas the Government of Ontario has passed legislative changes to OMER's governance structure through Bill 68, and whereas these changes would replace the current OMERS Sponsors Corporation with a new Sponsors Council that would lose its corporate status and independent resources. And whereas the proposed model could allow pension decisions affecting municipal employers and employees to be made without meaningful municipal oversight, increasing financial risk for municipalities and local taxpayers. And whereas municipalities are already under significant financial strain and cannot absorb additional pension costs without consequences for property taxes or local services, now therefore be it resolved that the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa does not support the legislative changes to the OMERS Act contained in Bill 68 and requests that the Government of Ontario reconsider the advisability of proceeding with these changes. And further, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa supports the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, in calling on the Government of Ontario to maintain the current OMERS governance model with 2 corporate boards as the structure that would best deliver on the long-term interests of municipalities, taxpayers, and employees. And be it further resolved that this resolution be circulated to the Honourable Rob Flack, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Honourable Peter Bethlen-Falvey, Minister of Finance, Billy Deneau, MPP, Renfrew-Nipissing, Pembroke, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. That's one of the longest resolutions we've had in a while. Our next piece of correspondence is from the We Stand for Survivors campaign, from Kim Charlevoix, the Status Project Coordinator of the Women's Sexual Assault Center, Renfrew County. So, as you are aware, it's been the last 3 years now that Petawawa has supported the We Stand for Survivors campaign. And as they have requested in past years, they're looking for us to once again support their initiative here in the town. With us agreeing to raise their banner once again on the side of the Civic Center arena. They also made an announcement, as they do every year, that they're trying to get more and more communities and municipalities in Renfrew County on board. And as they have done in past years, they have another new municipality who is on board. What we're not sure of is where the actual huge ceremony is going to take place. I know that Petawawa hosted them, I think it was 2 years ago. So what we don't know is where they're going to have their main ceremony for the We Stand for Survivors campaign. So basically what they're asking us is, will we support them as we have in the past with the request to hang their banner on the side of the Civic Center. I'll open it up for questions or comments. Okay, so if you're comfortable, I'll read the motion, I guess, just so you know what you're supporting here. The council approves the request from the Women's Sexual Assault Center, Renfrew County, to hang its banner for the month of May as part of its We Stand with Survivors campaign, and that the banner be displayed at the Petawawa Civic Center. So if you're comfortable, I need more. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Carmody. The council approves the request from the Women's Sexual Assault Center, Renfrew County, to hang its banner for the month of May as part of its We Stand with Survivors campaign, and that the banner be displayed at the Petawawa Civic Center. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you, council. Next, we have minutes. First up is the council and committee meeting of January 26, 2026. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that the minutes of the council and committee meeting held on January 26, 2026 be accepted by council, and that resolutions from that committee become resolutions of council. Any questions, concerns on the minutes? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have minutes from the Festival Hall Committee meeting of December 10th, 2025. I need a motion to accept those minutes. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that the minutes of the Festival Hall Committee meeting held on December 10th, 2025 be adopted as information. Councillor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have spoken to everything that pertains to these minutes. If there is any questions or matters to be discussed, I'd be more than glad to take any questions. Thank you.
Questions on the Festival Hall? No. Just one question. What's the biggest upcoming event?
I was going to talk about that in my councillor reports.
I can hang on until then.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have minutes from the Petawawa OPP Detachment Board meeting of December 17th, 2025. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that the minutes of the Petawawa OPP Detachment Board meeting held on December 17th, 2025 be adopted as information. Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Service. So this meeting was largely regular business. One thing of note, though, you'll see at the top of the minutes, we have a new logo for the Petawawa OPP Detachment Board, so it's sanctioned by the OPP and officially approved and usable by us. However, don't change it. It's that and that alone. And other than that, I'd be happy to take any questions that anybody may have on the minutes.
It doesn't look like they spent a lot of money on graphic design for the new logo, but I guess it serves its purpose. Questions on the minutes of the OPP detachment meeting? I see none, so I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, next we have FIN-02-2026, the Q4 of 2025 financial update. And welcome Megan, Director of Finance, to give your Q4 2025 financial update. Even though you weren't here for a lot of Q4.
Or Q1, Q2, Q3. Should you have any questions? They're all yeah. Okay. The report FIN-02 in front of you today is for council just to receive the information. Obviously, with my start date not that long ago, I don't have full. We haven't performed all of the year-end procedures for the financial statements for 2025. And as I was already alluded to, I was not here for much of that, so I know there is some cleanup to do. Because of our 2023 and 2024 audit, our auditors had previously recommended that there was a return of the expenditure reports to council to provide some more oversight and more comfort for the auditors. I've spoken with the auditors, and they believe with the return of somebody in the Director of Finance position, along with some of the other changes that happened over 2025, again, more of the internal controls that should be there were in place for 25 and will obviously continue to be placed for 2026. So it's their recommendation, along with staff's, to remove the expenditure reports that had previously been brought to council on a monthly basis. This included also a checklisting that council was to sign off on. Preparing these reports is time consuming for the finance department, as what we need to present to council in a public meeting varies very differently from what we need to report within the financial software. Also, it's quite outdated software, so it's not really easy to manipulate some of the reports and requires, as I say, quite a bit of effort to prepare. It also creates some issues with vendors as we have to manipulate what we're doing to make it correct for what we're going to present to council. which is not obviously ideal either. And I feel also strongly that the report that was provided doesn't provide council with a great deal of insight into how we're actually performing and how, from a strategic point of view, you can move the town forward. So the numbers in front of you, as I say, are draft. They are, we're also not quite finished even entering all of the 2025 information. But I intended to bring this to you today ahead of budget, as we're fast approaching that next week. And this would just provide some insight for council as to how we're performing, generally speaking. I don't expect the numbers to vary drastically from what were presented here, more shifts between departments to fix coding and that kind of thing. My intention with this report going forward, once I have my feet underneath me and a budget behind me, would be to present council with this report and a variance analysis that would go with it. I tried to prepare that for you tonight. However, as I said, my focus has been budget, so the year-end adjustments definitely were lacking in these numbers, and I didn't want to present council with a variance analysis that may change as I clean up everything up for year-end. And again, I think that would provide valuable insight for council going forward from strategically and looking at budget to actual to see how we're comparing. So as you can see in attachment 1, that's kind of every department, and these follow the financial statements and the same classifications that would be presented to you when the auditors present their final financials. And then attachment 2 is just the water and sewer, as those are captured in separate funds and need to balance to 0. I am happy to answer any high-level questions you have.
Okay, thanks, Megan. Questions on the financial reports, Q4 2025? Deputy Mayor Zell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess first and foremost, one of the recommendations is that we do away with monthly expenditure reports, and I, for one, don't want to see that happen. I think that it provides a very good, a very appropriate and transparent view to how we're spending our money. One of the things that isn't necessarily beneficial to me, however, is to see a list of checks and to see the top 3 payables and how much we paid them. That isn't beneficial to me, but certainly the transparency of the checks that we see each month, along with the budgets that have been expended. I'm presuming that that's what staff get as well, so that they can monitor their budgets. So that is something that I would like to see continue. It was a recommendation from our auditor, and as you said, you're brand new, so I appreciate this review as well, but there's not enough detail in it. And so I don't know what the balance is with respect to these, but it does give a high-level overview, 100%. What it doesn't give is very much specifics. So that's basically what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thanks. And I think what you're saying is a variance report. Would that be a monthly or a quarterly thing?
I can provide either one. Sorry. I can provide either one, whichever council prefers. Obviously, I work for you guys. And yes, it would be detailed to the level you're speaking of, but not presenting GL by GL. Some of there's classification issues, and all of these numbers get rolled up into materials. So one line necessarily being over budget versus another one under isn't necessarily indicative of the real results that we're presenting. So I'm happy to present this on a monthly basis if that is what council would prefer.
Okay, so in place of a list of checks and the top 10 pays would be a more detailed variance.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, that the top 10 checks and the list of pays isn't what I'm looking for. I like our monthly expenditure report that shows what the checks were and where we spent our money, like we've been doing. I think that's what I've always appreciated about the level of detail. And certainly, if there are any questions that any member of the public ever has, those provide the answers that I think they expect to hear from us. So,
Councillor Kern.
Thank you, Mayor Service. I agree with the Deputy Mayor. I like those monthly expense reports. It does not get more granular than that. I did not appreciate that it required a fair bit of manipulation. I thought that was submit the request to the software and the software would spit it out. It sounds like there's a bit more work involved in that. However, I think it's work that's of value. As I say, the data does not get more granular than that. It cannot be fudged. You know what the checks are. They're right there in front of you. They've been cut and issued. I could probably live with a quarterly expenditure report instead of monthly. If it had to be, I had to make a compromise, but I do like seeing those reports.
Further questions, sir? Councilor Dunn.
Thank you, Mayor Service. This is more for the CEO. There was discussion last year with regards to new software that was coming in for our financial department. Do we have a horizon on when that might be?
One of the tasks that our new treasurer has been working on, along with budget, has been to source out some costing. She's gotten one quote. She's probably looking at getting another one just so we have a ballpark to present as part of our budget workshop. Timelines anywhere from a year to probably a little longer to implement. So we're already into 2026. So I don't know if we'll have it still to go on January 1, 2027, but we will do our best. But be prepared at the budget workshop for some high-end costing when it comes to a new system, all encompassing. Needed, mind you, but it's not cheap today.
Thank you.
Maybe just to follow up on that, maybe you could describe what these new systems offer in terms of overall coverage via software package.
Well, this would be pretty well like going to Walmart to get your groceries and your clothing and your supplies for your oil for your car. It pretty well will give us everything. It will do the planning. It will be our HRIS system, track our training, track all our vacation and leave requests from our HR side of things, do our taxation. It will also allow for customer portal, so our customers will be able to, our residents will be able to see their taxes, pay their taxes. Dog tags will be able to be paid through the system. We won't probably need our cloud permit anymore because our building permits will be able to go through the system. It's, when I say one-stop shop, it does everything. So it does alleviate some of our other programs, even for booking from the agriculture side of things. We can book through this as well because it ties everything in together, in an ERP system, which is what it's meant to do. It's just those systems do cost a lot of money, so, and there's annual subscription costs. They base it by the number of users, so we aren't that small. So we're gonna have to consider this going forward on every budget, that there's gonna be a cost to do business when we implement this new system.
Councilor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm interested in the software you described. That seems like it's a little bit of everything. But I will agree with Councilor Carmody and Deputy Mayor Sovereign. I do like those monthly. I do like to see where all of our checks are going line by line to have the high-level overview. It is a little vague for me. I like the detail a little bit more. So personally, that's where I feel on it. Thanks.
Further, sorry, CAO.
So just for clarity for myself, so you want to see our budget reports back that show line by line, but you're okay with not having the check report, is that correct? Just wanted to double check on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just a more detailed report of the variance and the spending, but not a list of 500 checks. Okay, so this report, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Simon.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, you said not a list of 500 checks. I like the list of checks. What I don't need is, that we paid Aqua X number of dollars. They were the top pay. Like that's what I'm.
Yeah, like the top five.
Yeah, I'm not. That isn't something I'm looking for.
Just the
But to be aware as a taxpayer and
Expenditures.
ratepayer and this expenditure, yes, I am looking for check number 26597 to Bell Mobility. Check 25, and that's what I like, and that's what I'd like to see continue.
Okay, just by way of head nod or thumbs up, how many members of council would like to see every month a list of checks that are signed and expended? Expenditure list, yeah. Okay. And the top 5 or top 10 payees are not employed. Okay. But I think we're all in agreement that we like the variance report that shows this is money going in, money coming in, going out, as we trundle along through the financial year. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Then I need a motion just to receive this report as information. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Roots, that report FIN-02-2026 be received for information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, next we go to FIN-03-2026, the 2025 Reserve Fund transfers. Megan.
This one should be a little bit more straightforward, I hope. I've simplified it for you. Yes, this report is required before we go into budget to make sure that the amounts that we're looking at in the reserves are more or less accurate. These are just estimates. Again, we haven't had the audit done for 2025, and there are could be some year-end entries, but these are pretty close. Because we don't have a formal reserve or reserve fund policy, we need council's resolution to move the amount of money that is sitting in the attachments in front of you. The amounts in the table 1 are the recommended transfers into the reserves, and these were all discussed at the 2025 budget. And I would recommend all of the ones that I said there, with the exception of one difference. I can't find. And in table 2, that describes all of the transfers out that I would recommend based on the actuals that happened in 2025. So some of these will be carried forward into 2026 if the projects just weren't completed by the end of 2025, and some of them due to not receiving grant funding or for other reasons just didn't kick off. So there's no reason to transfer the money out of reserves in 2025. So happy to once again answer any questions that you guys may have.
Questions on the transfer reserve? Councillor Gunn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I may be too far down the weeds with this question. The reserve fund on your document number 2, the reserve working fund, has a couple listed in there, one of being the EDI committee. I was under the impression that the Accessibility Advisory Committee also had reserve funds set aside from 2024 that we were anticipating.
So I have scoured the 2025 budget, and these were the final approved budget numbers that went to council. I am aware of that as well, and they may have carried forward from 24 into 25, but they didn't carry forward in this manner, unfortunately. Those were the, again, final approved budget numbers for 2025, and that was not listed in those final numbers.
Okay, so we're not seeing a resolution or a fix for that. We'll be moving forward with the information that is now.
To move the whatever was remaining from 2024 into 2025.
Yes, just to make sure that it gets onto the books, coming up into the.
I can certainly make sure that whatever was left, if anything, after the audit, because now the 2024 books are closed, but I can make sure that there's something there. I'll look into it for you and figure out what the number might be.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the reserve transfer? I like those two tables. They're very clear and precise, and it's easy to follow. So thanks for those tables, Megan. No other questions or comments? Then I need a motion to get the transfers done. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor Coutu. The council approves the proposed transfers into and from the town's reserve funds as outlined in Table 1. Recommended transfers into reserve funds, and Table 2, recommended transfers out of reserve funds of Report FIN-03-2026 as presented. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much, Megan.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll go to LEG-04-2026, the Restricted Acts After Nomination Day, also affectionately known as lame duck period. And CAO will be presenting.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Through you, the council, I'll take a stab at these next two reports. I guess I actually delivered them a couple of years ago now, so council will probably recall two very similar reports 4 years ago. It's the same practice again, and when we get to an election year, there's a few parameters that council has to look at, and this is being one of them, the restricted period, or also known as the lame duck period. So there are two periods of time that a council can go and lame duck in an election year. It's August the 21st from nomination day until the election day. And secondly, it's the election day until the end of the term of council, which is November the 14th. So the reason why we say lame duck is that you have, it's 3/4 of a 7-member council, which is what we have. That equates to 5.25 people. So obviously you need to round up to 6. So 6 council members around this table were to, for whatever reason, not run again, or I know that more than one of them isn't running again, there's a chance we're in lame duck because we only would have potentially 5 coming forward. Or after an election, if you all run and two of you are not successful, we could be in a lame duck. So those are the two types of periods. And under the legislation, under Section 275 of the Municipal Act, councils of the day need to pass a resolution that in the event that happens, that there's certain delegated powers that fall to the CEO, just to kind of keep the ship afloat during that time frame. The 4 points are listed there. I'd be happy to elaborate or answer any questions the council has, but again, this is a similar formality to what we've done 4 years ago, and I'll have to take any questions if the council has any.
Questions on the report? When do nominations open? What's the date?
May 1st.
May 1st? Okay, any questions or comments on the report? You see the motion in front of you. I'm not going to read the whole thing and read it again. So if you're comfortable with the motion, I need a mover. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sapling, seconded by Councillor Roots, that council delegates authority to the Chief Administrative Officer in the event the council finds itself subject to Section 275 of the Municipal Act 2001 S.O.2001 C.25 as amended regarding restricted acts after nomination day, the powers to appoint or remove from office any officer of the municipality, to hire or dismiss any employee of the municipality, to dispose of any real or personal property of the municipality which has a value exceeding $50,000 at the time of disposal, and to make any expenditure or incur any other liability which exceeds $50,000. And that a bylaw be brought forward at the next meeting of council to formally approve the delegation. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have LEG-05-2026, the 2026 Municipal Election Compliance Audit Committee Terms of Reference. Oh.
Thank you once again, Mayor Service, through you to council. Again, this is a similar report that I had brought up 4 years ago, and I can actually say that our compliance audit, the attached draft, we actually just did an update to the year. Nothing changed upon review when Don checked into the 2026 election. So our procedure that we had in our terms of reference stays the same this election. And what this really does is the sooner we get this before council, it gives the clerk the authorization to reach out to the candidates that we currently have to see if they're willing to remain as our compliance audit committee. And if they choose not to, then we can seek other individuals to represent. So there's a three board member sits on the committee, and so this allows us to get ahead of the game sooner rather than later. So that's why we brought this forward now. So it gives us the time to reach out to those individuals, see if they'd like to remain, and if they do, great, we can get them approved by bylaw, and we're good to go. Happy to take any questions should council have them.
Questions on the report? Maybe for the members of the public, what types of individuals are eligible to serve on the compliance audit committee?
In the past, we've seeked out people who have some financial background, because it does, if there is a review of a candidate's financial statements that comes up during the election, they do need to have somewhat of a financial background to be able to, to look at the statements that are submitted to see if there's any discrepancies or any rules or regulations that have been violated as per the Municipal Election Act. So.
Okay, thanks. No other questions or comments? Then I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Donovan, second by Councillor Driscoll, that council approves the 2026 Municipal Election Compliance Audit Committee Terms of Reference as presented, and that council formally adopts the terms of reference by bylaw at the next meeting of council, and that the clerk is authorized to solicit candidates for appointment to the Compliance Audit Committee. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we'll go to councillor reports. Deputy Mayor Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had to report on a few activities. On the 22nd of January, I participated in Garrison's Petawawa Defense Employment Equity Advisory Group. Both myself and Councillor Coutu were invited. This was chaired by the Garrison Commander. On the 28th, I attended a Police Services Detachment Board meeting, as well as an Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion meeting. Today, I attended a meeting with respect to guests that may be coming from the Netherlands in the month of May. And I would also like to just remind all of our residents that the transportation feasibility study open house is this coming Wednesday, the 4th of February, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Rotary Room. So please come out if you want to talk about transportation and needs as a resident. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Carney.
Thank you, Mayor Service. I can report that on January 28th, I chaired a meeting of the Petawawa OPP Detachment Board. And that's it for my report for today.
Thank you. Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Mayor Service. So I too was at the Petawawa Defense Employment Advisory Group meeting, and it was really encouraging. I think that we're going to really increase collaboration on some key initiatives across the garrison and the town, and reach across that bridge. And then on January 28th, I chaired a meeting of Petawawa's Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee. We reviewed our 2026 work plan, and this was a very special meeting because we were joined by 2 volunteers that are coming to join our Petawawa Pride Planning Committee. So we have about 8 or more people who answer the call. We've already started planning. So I'll just repeat that anyone in our community can help plan Pride 2026. All you need to do is email at petawawa.ca, and you'll get plugged into the planners there. And we're just interested in people's ideas, enthusiasm, and of course their labor on the day. So Pride this year is already planned for Friday, June 12th. So 5 to 8, we'll see you at the Kent to your early notice. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to take a second to bring an idea forward for the improvement of our outdoor rink. It's been around for decades. It's used as much now as the day it was built. Any day of the week you can go there, there's always people using it. But it's really starting to show its age, and it is in need of an upgrade. Instead of just budgeting for it, I'd like to fund this upgrade the way our community used to fund recreation facilities through volunteers and fundraising. For the fundraising, I'd like to essentially sell 8-foot sections of boards to any businesses or local individuals. They'd be able to advertise or decorate them as they see fit, the life of the board. We already have some volunteers who have started working with us this year. They've been very dedicated on the weekends, helping complement the staff who've been doing a great job keeping the ice very good. Our original facility was fundraised for, materials were donated and built by volunteers, and I'd like to get back to having our residents being a little more engaged in their facilities. And I'd like to keep this in mind during upcoming budget deliberations. And hopefully this is something we can move forward with and bring some life back into the facility. Thanks.
That's a great idea to have members of the public take ownership and hopefully solicit some of our local businesses to participate in the upgrade of the terminal. I'm glad to hear it's still very well used. Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 21st and the 23rd, I was involved in a couple of meetings that are focused around some initiatives that the Seniors Advisory Committee is working on. So it's looking at both outreach as well as volunteer opportunities for seniors. On the 28th of January, I attended the Stronger Leaders, Stronger Communities presentation from AMO. They've had some networking and group breakout sessions, so it was very good. It's very well organized. Good attendance at it. On the 29th, I attended the Algonquin College celebration of their 50 years of educating nurses. It was a great presentation. It was joined, there was a group in Ottawa as well as the group here at the college, providing some information on the growth and the development and where they see themselves going moving forward. So, and that is my report.
Thank you. And thank you for attending the nurses' 50th anniversary on my behalf. Councillor Root.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So January 23rd, I chaired a Festival Hall meeting, and the topics at this event was the quarter 4 financials, events and programming, and you were asking about well, what's the next big thing. So I can tell you we just finished booking George Kenyon and Aaron Burchett for late November. That'll be a nice show if you're into the country scene. So events and programming is very important. I'm moving forward with a youth program, hopefully for March break. Just working on, it's a tricky thing when it comes time to booking youth programming. It's very, very costly, and just because of logistics where we're located, but we're working at that. We had an operational review as well, and we took a look at the year ahead as the calendar is already booking up very quickly with shows and events as the momentum continues at Festival Hall. We had a lighting project update and a sponsorship opportunity. Also the new lighting installation that I've been briefing council on will start later this week. We're very, very excited about that. Also something else we've been working on, you will see when you come to Festival Hall, there'll be 2 large TV monitors located at the front of the stages, at the front of the big stage. And there'll be 2 TV monitors also inside the lobby. So this will allow more effects and at stage level in the lobby for live streaming, advertising, and notifications all in real time. So you can be in the lobby and you will, just say for example, you're late getting back to your seat, you'll be able to look at maybe you're at the canteen, maybe you're discussing a conversation with somebody, you'll be able to look at the TVs and know exactly what's going on in our building. There'll be notifications that return to your seats. The show's going to start in 5 minutes, or there could be some advertisements. There's some sponsorship things that I'm looking at. I think it's going to be a real enhancement, especially at the stage level for effects. As someone's performing, to have other things going on, it'll keep you very busy. Yeah. January 29th, I attended an Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery meeting. And at this meeting, the business schedule was this event was expenses reports from the year end, tonnage and recycling update, landfill expansion overview, the blue box transition, of course, audit response from a note from the Welsh LP group, an environmental update. Also very important, we had our board elections where at the Recovery Center, where Mayor Steve Bennett remains as chairman, and I was reelected once again as the vice chair, so I'm very happy about that as well, to represent our town at that table. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Congratulations on maintaining your vice chair status. That's good to hear. For my part, we had several meetings with the contractor who was upgrading the upstairs hall at the Civic Center. And I think we're almost 100% almost there.
Almost there.
But for people who have been there in the last 3 weeks to a month, you would have noticed a big difference. They fixed the speaker and microphone at the ticket sales window. There's a new 85-inch screen, a new 72-inch screen, 4 new 55-inch TV screens, and a whole brand new sound system, all funded by the fundraising bartending team. So it's great to see that all of the funds that are raised through the bartending and all the events at the Civic Center are all put back into the Civic Center. And I think what this has done is taken the upstairs hall to a whole new level. I know that the bingo really appreciates it now with the bigger screens and the better sound system. And there's been a couple of tournaments and other events up there that have used the system, and it's been given rave reviews.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor.
Sorry to interrupt. Yesterday I took a walk out to the Civic Center and there was skating going on and the canteen was open and I did go upstairs. I wanted to get a look at everything, and there was a birthday party going on. And there was, the sound system was being used and the television, the new monitors, and it was a great atmosphere. It was like, wow, this is a whole new place. So very interesting. Thank you.
Right on, that's good to hear. And this weekend we have a trivia and a comedy night, so it'll be great to see even larger events using the new system. On January the 14th, there was a county council session with health, community services, and corporate services, and each department had to present their budget request for the upcoming county budget. On January 15th, we had a meeting with the Whitewater region in terms of our strategy for Highway 17 and the twinning of it up in our end of the county. And then on January 19th and the 20th, the CAO and I were in Toronto at Roma, and we had several delegations with several different ministries. We met with the Ministry of Sport to talk about potential grants for some of our recreation ideas up here in Petawawa. We met with the Minister of Education staff to talk about Seawell childcare spaces. And I have to say, of all the meetings that we had, that seemed to be the most productive in terms of us pleading a case for here in Petawawa and the broader Renfrew County in getting some extra Seawell spaces. Just to update you, and I'm sure I've told you this before, but in 2025 and 2026, Renfrew County was the only county in the entire province of Ontario to receive 0 Seawell $10 a day childcare spots. The only county in the entire province of Ontario. So the county spent a considerable amount of time in 2025 advocating for extra spaces, and we're successful. They've got 267 additional spaces in 2025. So our delegation this year and the county, as soon as we walked out of the room, Renfrew County walked into the room to plead their case as well. But I'm happy to say that when they went in there to plead the case, it was centered around Petawawa and our young population. The largest waiting was in Renfrew County in terms of childcare spaces. And it seemed, when we came out and when they came out, it seemed very positive that we may get another, they called it a recalibration, because there are many municipalities in the province who aren't using all of these spaces. So a recalibration might get more up here. And with the extra spaces comes infrastructure money. So with the 267 spaces they received in 2025 came $1.5 million in infrastructure funding for daycare. So we're hoping there's a recalibration. We're hoping we get more spots, and that Petawawa can tap into some of that infrastructure money. We also met with the Minister of Finance to discuss our ongoing health issue. No check was forthcoming. We joined Pembroke in their delegation with the Solicitor General in discussing the 11% increase in OPP costs for 2026. And we also met with the Ministry of Transportation in discussing twinning the boulevard and the bridge over Petawawa River to ease our traffic pressures coming on and off the garrison. We were meant to join Whitewater Region in their delegation with the twinning of Highway 17 up here in the western end, but they rescheduled it to a time we were already occupied, so we didn't join. But they said it went very well. The discussions that they had in terms of some of the suggestions we had for Highway 17. On the 21st, we had a trails meeting with Garrison Petawawa. We have another trails proposal that we're collaborating with the Garrison. More details to follow once we have some more firm details, I guess. On the 28th, another county council meeting, this time with operations and D&P, and those two departments presented their budgetary demands for 2026. And on January 29th, we had an all-day budget meeting at county council, and we did complete the deliberations, and in the end, the Renfrew County decided to raise the levy 6.68% for 2026 for Renfrew County. And today, along with Councillor Donovan and Deputy Mayor Sammer, we met with some folks from the Netherlands to discuss another visit of a different mayor, Mayor Ben Visser from the Ems Delta municipality, who one of the towns in his municipality is called Delfzijl, and it was liberated in 1945 by the Cape Breton Highlanders and the RCDs from here in Petawawa. So this mayor is coming along with a little entourage on May 10th to the 12th to the town of Petawawa to meet with us and the RCDs as well to talk about commemorating the liberation of his small town and his municipality. So 2 years in a row, we'll have a Netherlands contingent coming to our town. And that's it. Nothing for closed. I need a motion for the confirming bylaw. Moved by Councillor Carmody, second by Councillor Coutu, that bylaw 1809/26 be read first, second, and third time and passed. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1809/26, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council at its meeting held on February 2nd, 2026. This is be read a first and second and third time and passed. This constitutes first, second, and third reading, short of bylaw 1809/26, the second day of February 2026.
I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sandberg, that the meeting adjourn to the call of the mayor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.